This is rental car number 102, and today I'm driving the 2018 Nissan Pathfinder SV. This one has four-wheel drive and retails for about $35,000. This is considered a mid-size three-row crossover, but it still has some decent power. You got a 3.5-liter V6 engine under the hood. You've got Nissan's continuously variable speed automatic transmission, and it kicks out an impressive 284 horsepower. That means you can go 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds. Not bad. Fuel economy is also pretty decent. 19 miles per gallon in the city, 26 on the highway, and you got yourself a 19.5-gallon fuel tank. That means you can fill this thing up for about $57, considering, at least around me, gas right now is about $2.95 a gallon. Before we jump in the vehicle, this is the microphone I'm going to use to record audio while I'm inside the car. Sounds a little bit different, so if you don't like it, let me know in the comments below. I'm just experimenting, and I'll gladly throw this thing away if it's annoying. So here's the key fob on the Pathfinder. I've had this key fob a lot because I've been running a lot of Nissans and Infinitis lately. Essentially, they're all the same on all the vehicles. Nissan's logo on the top, remote start, lock, unlock, and panic. It's an oval shape with nothing on the back. Because we have a key fob, that means we get a remote start. It's located right here on the dash. It's just a circular button. Turn the car on. You'll notice when the car boots up, this also illuminates in a soft red color. Here is the steering wheel configuration on the Pathfinder. We have a number of buttons here on the left-hand side. These controls right here interact with the digital display and the gauge cluster. This is actually one of my favorites. You have volume rockers, source buttons, and then telephone buttons down here. On the right-hand side, you have your cruise controls with a simple on and off button, a toggle switch, and then a cancel button right on top. I mentioned it a second ago, but you do have a nice gauge cluster up above the steering wheel, two large gauges, and then what I think is a really nice digital screen right in the center. There's a lot of options on here that are fun to play with. Let me cycle through a few of them. I think my favorite, besides seeing some additional details on the vehicle, is the driver assist features, right? So you have parking aids, so the car will beep if you're reversing into a parking spot. You also have emergency braking, so the car will brake by itself if you're following a little too close. Things like that are just fun to play around with. I obviously didn't try out the emergency braking feature, but I did try out the parking aids, and they work pretty well. A couple other things I want to point out in this location of the car. You do have buttons up here. This adjusts the brightness of the display. And then you have your trip reset counter up here as well. These are kind of difficult to reach when you're driving, but when the car's stopped, it's not too bad. Over to the right, you have pretty much all your standard buttons down here. Window controls, door locks, and mirror controls. Up on the dash, you have the buttons to turn on or off traction control. And then over here, you have a tow mode feature. And down at the bottom, hard to see, but you do have a push pedal parking brake. Side view mirrors are pretty standard, nothing special here, no blindside detection, but hey, it works fine, and they are identical on both sides. Up top, you just have two buttons to illuminate the cabin. Actually, something cool, when you turn this on, you see these two lights are illuminated. The lights in the back also turn on. I don't know, kind of a fun feature. Sunglass holder, standard rear view mirror. It's hard to see, but there are three buttons to program garage doors, and then also an automatic dimmer feature. Down below is the display on the Pathfinder, pretty decent size. I like that you have dedicated buttons down below to help you navigate through things. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. You can hit the climate button, jump over to the climate screen and adjust things using this dial right here. Hit the apps button and see what's loaded on the car. Unfortunately, this vehicle doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which kind of limits what you can do here. There's really not a whole lot of fun things to play around with. You'll notice that there's a lot of blank screens. You can use the apps garage to try and download stuff, but this is a rental, so I'm not going to do that. Setting screen is pretty easy. This is something I care about because I usually hook up my phone via Bluetooth. It was pretty easy to do that on the Pathfinder. Down below, you also have some additional entertainment features. You've got a CD player. Let's see. Anybody leave me a CD? No, it doesn't look like it. Additional buttons to quickly jump to some of the entertainment features. And then down below at the very bottom, let me see if I can move the gear shift out of the way. You do have your climate controls. These feel like really nice dials. It's plastic, but it has kind of a metallic feel to it. And these are really easy to operate. And when you do adjust things, so this is the temperature dial, for example, you do get a pop-up screen up here to show you that you're adjusting the temperature up or down. Same thing with the fan right here, right? Turn the fan up or down, and you get a pop-up screen on the large touchscreen above. Below there, all the way at the bottom, you do have a DC power port and then 2 USB connections down here, along with a nice storage area right here. That's pretty much perfect for my cell phone. Gear shift made out of plastic. No sport shift capability on the Pathfinder, though you do have an overdrive button right here. This shift's a little bit clunky, but it seems to work fine. 2 cup holders, and then you also have your dial to shift between 2-wheel drive, auto, and 4-wheel drive mode. Not doing a whole lot of off-roading, so I didn't get a chance to try this out much. Over on the passenger side, you do have a glove box that is fairly deep. I think it'll go way back. And as always, Enterprise has left me a ton of paperwork on the Pathfinder. And then lastly up here, you do have a center armrest in nice soft leather with this 2-switch thing right here. I know I'm not being very articulate, but 2 switches, right? So you can pull up on the one that's labeled upper, and you reveal a small shelf right here where you can store some things. And then if you pull up on the one that says lower, right, that shelf gets sucked in to the top of the lid, and then you reveal a larger storage space down here. Looks like you got some connections, which is always a positive. So you do have a DC power port right here, and then also an auxiliary in, or audio in, video in, and then 2 more USB ports. Also a nice size storage area right here. I love it when they have these modular sections so you can store things like change, or maybe prop up a cell phone in there, and then also some larger space down here to store some bigger items. All right, so that's all the major highlights of the front seat. I've jumped in the back seat to try it out. Legroom back here is not too bad. Thankfully, you can actually adjust these seats so they actually slide forwards and backwards, so you can give yourself a little bit more room back here. Let me just show you. If I slide the seat all the way forward, right, I have pretty much no legroom at all. But thankfully, it slides back, and I give myself about 6 to 8 inches of room between my knees and the back of the front seat. These seats also do have some pockets built into them right here. On the back of the center armrest, you also have 2 more USB ports. If you see, they're actually illuminating, so there's little LED lights around them to make them easier to view. Climate controls, and then 2 dedicated vents. You have a couple of other things, window controls, pretty standard, along with a cup holder. Now, I showed you this before, but up top, you do have a light, and then a handle with one of my favorites that Nissan includes, this little hook so you can hang a jacket right here. There is a center armrest back here. It folds down, just a gentle tug, and you have 2 cup holders and then a storage space right here. This right here looks like a dog leash that the previous renter left for me, but it's stuck. So I can't get it out, so it's just gonna have to stay. But it gives us a nice transition to talk about car seat anchors. These are fairly shallow, which is, well, it's one of my favorite things. So you can see, you can actually touch the car seat anchors without manipulating the seats at all. So that makes it really easy to install a car seat if you have small children like me. So that's pretty much everything back here. Let's jump in the 3rd row so I can see how painful it is to climb back in there. All right, so just for fun, and because I'm a glutton for punishment, I pushed this center row all the way back, like I was sitting in it before. And I want to see if I can actually squeeze into the 3rd row. And no, it's not possible. So I can't even sit back here. Well, I guess I can push my knees against the back of the seat and force my feet underneath the seat itself to fit back here. So I guess it's physically possible, but man, is it uncomfortable. I guess what I'm saying here is that if you do have adults in both the 3rd row, back here where I am, and the middle row for your passengers, pretty much everyone is going to be uncomfortable. Alright, so let's close things out by opening up the hatch and taking a look at the storage space back here. Even with those third row seats up, you still have plenty of room back here to haul around some golf clubs, maybe a stroller, some groceries. Honestly, there's plenty of space. Also, underneath the floor in this area, it opens up to reveal a small modular storage area, so you can store even more smaller items under the floor right here. What's great though is that you can fold down those third row seats pretty easily by manipulating these they're kind of like canvas cords. You just give them a gentle pull and the seat will fold forward for you. And then that reveals an even larger storage space that you can take advantage of. You can also activate those third row seats again just by pulling on those same cords. And it just kind of takes a gentle tug and then you pull those seats right back into place. And then if you have even larger items, you can fold those third row seats down and then also collapse the middle row seats to take advantage of the full storage area on the Pathfinder. All right, so let's take this thing for a spin. See how it operates. I've driven a lot of SUVs lately, so I feel like I can have some good opinions on this one. Shift it into drive, take off the parking brake, and let's go forward. First thing I want to do with you is take it for a couple of donuts. See if we can figure out how the turning radius is. It's going kind of slow because I don't want to knock the camera over, but you'll see, turning is pretty nice. Actually feels really good around the corners. It feels like it's hugging the road pretty well. Let's go around a couple of objects just to get a feel for it. Not bad. Kind of drives like a car. Feels a little bit like the Nissan Maxima. Next thing I want to do is a little bit of acceleration. Not too much. I don't want to get in trouble. But let's see how this thing accelerates from a dead stop. All right. We're at a dead stop. Let's floor it. That's not bad, right? I'm not doing a 0 to 60 or anything. I'm in a parking lot, even though it's abandoned. I don't want to hurt anybody. But this has some pretty decent pickup. I've been driving it around for about 2 days, and I didn't really notice it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not like I thought this was the best car I've ever driven, but at no point in the time that I've driven this vehicle did I think, man, I wish I had more power, or that's just not exactly what I want. It's actually a pretty nice vehicle. So I was lucky enough to have the Pathfinder for 2 days. I had this car for about 48 hours. And I think I put about 150 to 160 miles on it. So I felt like I drove it enough where I can give this thing a decent review. I don't think you're going to be surprised, but I'm going to give the 2018 Pathfinder SV 4 stars. This is a great SUV, especially when you consider it's only $35,000. And I say that because, well, last week I had an $80,000 Infiniti QX80, and quite honestly, I might prefer the Pathfinder. Anyway, that's my take on things. If you think differently, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I rent my 102nd rental car. I'll see you then.